Hey, man, one thing about Vegas, though, you feel real sexy. So I just want to thank the win. When I walked in here, man, I felt like I was Nas and DMX on the front of Belly. You know what I mean? Here at XS, man, it's been really cool to just do so many different things, but obviously for them to give us this space, be so gracious, that was huge for us. Man, it's been a 10 out of 10 experience. Well, definitely 3 out of 3, right? We had Miami with Jack Daniels and McLaren, Austin, and now Las Vegas. It's just been exciting to partner with them. And it's so good to be linked to a winner.
Man, come on. 2 global iconic brands that came together. All they want to do is be perfect. And they have done it for us, and they've done it for hundreds of years, or over 100 years. I don't know if it's hundreds, fellas. But no, to be a part of Jack Daniels and Bruce McLaren. Jack and Bruce, my boys.
They don't know you at all.
They're my people.
They do say this, though. They say every day they make it the best they can.
Yeah, you said perfection. It's just about the daily standard, man. That's showing up every day, taking those shortcuts, and being the best you can be. I think that's something they both share.
There he is.
Hello.
Hey.
How you doing, good brother?
Everyone's got the right outfits on. How are you?
I know, right?
How you doing, pleasure to meet you.
yourself?
Yes, sir.
Hey,
Nice
man,
to
how
meet
you
you.
doing, brother?
Good,
Nice to
yourself?
meet you, bro.
Good to
Yeah,
meet you.
I feel like I'm in the witness chair here.
Yeah, you know, it's a little high, too. Normally we have our feet on the ground.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, they said
You guys are taller than
they're
me
like the CEO of McLaren Racing's come in. We got to make ourselves look taller.
I know, right? Gotta make
Yeah,
that.
Oh, it's cool.
The weather's
How much does the weather affect what you guys do?
quite a bit. We'd like it to be dry and hot, but that's not going to happen.
Right.
Yeah.
We've got our car works best under big load on the tires and heat, which you don't have big loads around here and heat. So
Right.
Hold up, limitless. Take a stomach, got pinning it. I fought the head to witness it. Got my people feeling militant. Way I'm feeling, got me up. On the mission, got me up. Knowing me, I got the key. On the vision, I can trust. Limitless. Take a stomach, got pinning it. I fought the head to witness it. Got my people feeling militant.
Welcome to The Pivot. We're excited about this. This is Channing Crowder, Ryan Clark. This is Fred Taylor here with Zak Brown, CEO of McLaren Racing. Pivot fam, thank you for pivoting with us. Listen, I know you're a person that answers all questions. So I'm gonna start with the most important question of the day. Let's say I somehow am able to afford a McLaren. I pick you up, you get in the passenger seat, and I say, look, Zak, you're in control of the radio. Do we start with, I can't go for that, man eater, rich girl,
you've done your homework.
or Sarah Smile? Or do you have another Hall & Note song that's your favorite that you'd like to play?
Man Eater's a good one.
See?
Man Eater, you've done your homework. I like it.
Hey, man after my own
My
heart.
buddy John's going to be happy with that.
My father was just a huge fan growing up, and so he.
he's, John Oates is a good buddy and a big car guy. And I've always been a Hall & Oates fan.
Yeah. So, but here's my real first question. You said it's good to dream, but bad to be a dreamer. What does that mean in the sense of why can people have this thing they visualize, but not actually be the essence of what it means to visualize those things?
Yeah, I think we all dream, or I always dreamt of, actually being a racing driver to win the world championship. Now it's been nice to do it as a leader of the team, but I would have preferred it with my race suit on. But I meet a lot of people that have a dream, but then they lack an understanding of like how hard it is. And so they're a little bit more of a dreamer of like, they're not prepared to put in the hard work. They just kind of want the dream to come true. And it's like, well, if you're gonna have a dream, you gotta go grab it. You gotta earn it. You're gonna get bruises along the way. You're gonna crash cars, fall off horses, whatever analogy you want to use. And so I've just met a lot of people over the years that like, they got a dream, but they don't really know how to pursue it, and they lack the aggression, the determination. Like, you got to make the dreams happen or give it your best shot. And usually it's people that's like, man, this person's just not going to make it happen because I think they lack the determination to really go get it.
And did you fall off a horse? Because it seems like
I've crashed a lot of cars.
But to be what CEO
I've
of McLaren
crashed
Racing.
a lot of cars. Horses scare me, and those things, I feel like I can control a car better than a horse. Actually, you see some of my racing, you'd go, maybe you should get on a horse.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I've crashed a lot, literally, but then in business. But I've always found making mistakes makes you stronger. As long as you learn from them, you own them, you understand them, you're not afraid of them. But every time you kind of get something wrong in life, if you analyze it, you're better for it, because next time around, you shouldn't make that same mistake. So yeah, I've had a lot of crashes over the years.
But in terms of dreams and developing a passion for this sport, a young Zach, was it 1981, your first look at Formula One was at the Long Beach Grand Prix?
Yep.
Fast forward 2 years after that, 13-year-old Zach won a pair of watches on the Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah.
Instead of going to play unlimited pole position, which was one of my favorite arcade games back in the day, you decided to buy a kart and get into this sport.
Yeah.
Why not the pole position in the video games like a normal kid, yet you wanted to actually go and fill it?
I always loved, 81 Long Beach Grand Prix, Alan Jones won. I remember it like it was yesterday. I still have the race program. I'm a collector, hoarder of stuff, all very neatly put away and filed, so I know exactly where it is. Then I went on Wheel of Fortune, and when you win, back then, they kind of showed you what was the most valuable thing you can get as a 13-year-old. It's like, give me the most expensive thing. And then kind of as it comes out of your mouth, it's like, what am I gonna do with these watches? I'm 13 years old. I like watches now, but at 13, so I go back to Long Beach Grand Prix and I meet Mario Andretti, and one of my buddies in high school was family friends, and he said, you can go. I said, how do you get started? He said, karting. And there was this program ad, and I thought, well, my parents aren't gonna love the idea of racing, so I went and sold the watches at a pawn shop in Van Nuys. But I always liked cars. I always liked racing. I always loved sport and being competitive. Baseball was actually my thing, but in order to be on the baseball high school team, you've got to go to high school. So that's where the baseball career kind of came to an end. And racing, and I just totally found my passion, got immersed, and I loved driving. I still love driving. So I love the pole position too, but there's nothing beats the sensation of driving something at speed and being competitive with it.
So we're here in partnership with Jack Daniels and McLaren, and you got a new book, right? 7/10 of a second. And reading an article about it, someone said it is the best leadership book of 2025, right? And part of that, you talk about being emotional as a driver. As the leader of a team, how have you been able to compartmentalize that emotion, that competitiveness, to make sure that this team has been more successful as it ever has in its tenure in Formula One?
I think, passion's always driven me, and I think passion's very healthy. But as soon as that tips into emotion, you make emotional decisions. We've all written those emails out of emotion where it's like, actually, when you get a little bit more experience, you go, let me put that in the drafts and read it in the morning and see. And you'd always, so to me, it's like you can't, of course you can be emotional, like you can't almost, but you can control how you react to being emotional. And Novak Djokovic, who's an unbelievable talent, spent some time with him, and it used to drive him crazy. He would say, people tell me, don't be emotional. It's like, well, I can't control if I want to laugh or cry, but I can control how I respond to that, like understand it. So I think over time, and I now look back on my racing career, I was emotional in the race car, and that didn't help me. And now I've just learned over years of like, I still have that instinct is still there, but it's like, hold on, recognize it, identify it. Is it something I need to deal with now, or can it wait till Monday? Because when you're emotional, you say things that you maybe mean or don't mean, and then like, you can't kind of unsay what you said. And so I'm a big fan of addressing things in the moment if they need to be addressed, or if it's like you had a bad race on Sunday, but like it's over. Actually, everyone go get a good night's sleep. We're all tired, adrenaline's high. Let's not say something that we might regret. Let's sleep on it. Let's talk about it on Monday in a constructive way. And I think that's something I've just learned over the years by doing things that are emotional and kind of trying to learn from my mistakes. And a lot of commonality of the mistakes I've made is they've been emotional reactions to something. So that's something I've had to train myself at. That's my natural instinct, is to still be emotional. I think I've just recognized it better now.
I can't relate to that at all, Zach. I don't do any emotional things. No matter what happens, I stay here. I don't react.
Huh? Is there getting mad? Getting mad is where your there is.
We try to tell him this is how he should be on his Twitter, because he lets it rip.
But you speak like from racing to being the businessman, CEO of McLaren Racing. Like, we're gonna give you the prop from that. That's something special. it doesn't seem like it will relate because, like you brought up instinct. We've heard from drivers, we've had Lando on, and it was like the instinct of it, and then practice, but that you have to have something in you. It seems like business should be very strategic, well thought out, broken down, analytical. Is there any relationship to racing and what you do now?
Yeah, I'm asked that often, and if I think of what you needed to be as a racing driver, and then you can kind of go, you need that to be as a CEO, and it's like, actually, it's spot on. So in no particular order, you need to be a great leader, right? Everyone's looking at you as the driver, but you also need to know how to be a good follower, taking sure. You need to be a great communicator, communicate to your engineers, but you also need to be great at listening because your engineers are giving you insight. You need to understand data in your decision making. You need risk versus reward. Do I go for that pass? Do I not? Is the pass for the win? I might have the reward's higher, so I might take a bigger risk. Or if you're kind of having a bad day, do you really want to take that risk? Maybe you just need to consolidate and accept this was an 11th place finish today, so you don't take a big risk, passion, not letting emotion get in the most of you, having great technology around you, having great people around you. So those are all the things you need to be a successful racing driver. And those are all the things you need to be a successful CEO. So I find there's a huge amount of similarities.
In your life and what you've done over at McLaren, for me, is the epitome of the pivot, right? Our mantra is it's never too late to pivot.
Never quit, right?
And never quit.
That's what pivoting is, right?
Yep.
You can quit. And it's like, no, I got to go a different direction.
Right. Along your journey, though, did you envision like this level of success, or has it just been, let the process play out and this is where we are?
It was the dream. And I've been working hard with the team to get that dream to come true. But I think it's pretty hard to sit back and go, yeah, I knew that was going to happen. So it's very enjoyable, but I don't have much time to enjoy it because I'm kind of worried about the dream coming to an end. So there's no complacency. I recognize in sport, it's not if we're not winning,
Yes.
it's when, right? That's just the reality. So that keeps me and the team motivated. And I think the failures that we've had along the way, started 2023, 2019, not qualifying for Indy, has shown us that when we do crash, get back and go again. So hopefully we're always at the front. Mm-hmm. We're winning a lot, but there's definitely gonna be days that we're not. But I can't sit here and say, yeah, this is the dream, but to sit here and go, we're gonna be back-to-back Constructors Championships, win 14 races.
Yeah.
I think if you actually kind of start believing that's going to happen, you almost don't work as hard, and it's kind of fun living the dream.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of times in sport, for example, he played for the Steelers. It's about identity. We are the Steelers. This is who we are. The Patriots have the Patriots way. In basketball, Miami Heat has the Heat culture. You have a no excuse culture here at McLaren. Kind of expound on that.
So we're all going to make mistakes, and we learn from them, and we help each other. And so we don't blame anyone. And usually when mistakes happen, there's usually a series of events that led to it. So, it's like we've all seen in sport, play at the end of the World Series, ball goes to his legs, and it's like, it's that guy's fault they lost the World Series. It's like, no, World Series is like 162 games and the World Series. Right. And there was a lot of errors along the way. So I think, you're a team, you support each other, you back each other up. We learn from mistakes, and you're not learning from mistakes if you don't own them and put your hand up. And so I get upset if someone doesn't own a mistake. I've got no problem with someone owning a mistake. I'm proud of that person. And I can remember racing in Russia. This was 2018, 19. And I would think our older culture, people would have kept their head down. We made a mistake. We brought the wrong wing. We've got different wing configurations. We had a terrible Friday. And I think the older McLaren, if you'd like, and I don't mean that by age, but, kind of pre this new culture, everyone would have been like, and they would have known there was a mistake, but no one would put their hand up. Someone put their hand up and went, we got this wrong. We flew in another rear wing, and what would have been a terrible weekend, we ended up scoring great points. And that was like, look, this is what, we can fix mistakes, but you got to own them. You got to put your hand up. And that was something that we applauded and recognized and gave that team and people credit, and then it's like, oh, okay, I can make mistakes right here. It's like, yeah, that's how you learn. So I think that's a really healthy environment.
You know, we were in Austin, I think it was the sprint race, and Oscar and Lando were both out extremely early. Football is so different from racing in the team aspect, right? Because for you guys, you can win as a team, but there's only one person that crosses the finish line first. And, you know, we sat with Lando, and I could see his competitiveness. You could feel who he is. And it's the same with Oscar. And you also said, too, like, we're never going to be like a one-car team. Like, that's not us.
That's not us.
How do you foster team in something that is also individual as well?
It's funny, you know, Martin Brundle, one of the leading commentators, he's like, teammate's kind of a strange phrase, right? Because in your world, teammate, like, it is teammate,
Truly
right?
teammate.
But there comes a point where our guys are teammates. They want to do what's right by the team and each other until it's between the two of them. And then they're fierce rivals. I think we're fortunate with the two guys that we have. I think, you know, that's a big part of, we want the two best drivers in the world, but we also want like the two best guys in the world. And I think we got really fortunate on how much they respect each other. And, you know, you can run, and you guys will know who plays clean and hard and who kind of gets their elbows out and, you know, pokes your eyes and it's like not cool. And I think we're fortunate we got two guys that play hard, hit hard, but they play the game fair. And as long as we keep that balance and that respect, you know, we're doing right now, knock on wood, 3 races to go, what a lot of people are like, you're crazy. You got to have a number 1 and number 2. It's like, that's not how we go racing. And the downside of that is in 2007, that's how McLaren's always raced. Our two guys took points off each other, so they tied, and the third place car snuck ahead. But you know what? How do I tell one of my drivers when they're both world championship drivers, nah, you're going to be second fiddle? Like, that relationship's over. So there's a lot of respect for each other, and then all we ask is that they respect each other on track, race each other hard, and they've touched on track. You know, it's a contact sport, but it's never been intentional. It's never been dirty. We just have such a strong relationship. We work through issues.
Zach, here's my question, right? I feel like sometimes you can follow the rules so much, you can be so fair that you put, whether it's your teammate, your children, your friends, at a disadvantage when you're in a world where everybody doesn't live like that, right? Max don't drive like that. Right, when Max is on the track, it's like,
he's coming to get you.
Yeah, he's like, I'm gonna put my elbows out. I'm gonna do the things it takes to win. As the CEO, how do you combat somebody like Max Verstappen in the way he drives when both of your guys are the fair, straight edge dudes that drive for McLaren?
Yeah, I think, you know, if you look at the world champions over the years, most of them get their elbows out. And I don't think there's kind of a right or a wrong. There's our way, and then there's their way. And let other people decide what's right, what's wrong, right? We've seen athletes in all different sports that kind of have different ways they go about winning. So we're just true to what, you know, kind of how we want to go racing. And yeah, you know, you get some guys out there that are pretty damn aggressive, and you know, that's cool. That's how they go racing, but we're going to stay focused on how we go racing. I think reality is you can win both ways. Mika Hakkinen, who was 2-time world champion for us, he was very clean and just damn fast. So you can do it both ways. We just got to be damn fast, so we don't need to get our elbows out, because we can just be a little bit up the road. So it's just how we go racing.
Yep.
And talking about the races, it reminds me of before we had this awesome, you know, partnership with McLaren and Jack Daniels, all I knew was Talladega Nights. Yeah. It's where they go up to each other. He's like, hey, buddy, can I win this race? If you win, how can I win?
Yeah.
How can I get first if you get first? But that arrogance in racing. And like we said, we sat down with Lando. We've been, you know, we're in Miami. We're in Austin. We've been around some racers. There's a little arrogance to this sport.
There has to be.
I want you to be a little arrogant right now, because you turned McLaren Racing around. You talked about the back-to-back Constructors Championships. Like, they weren't doing that before you. What was that path? What was that approach? What were the priorities you brought into McLaren to make them, I don't say make them what they are, but to be on top like y'all are?
Yeah, I think that what I'm most proud of, and I'm, kind of new to this success in McLaren is, I guess what I'd like to be recognized for is I put the best team on together. That's what I'm like. My team's better than your team, and that makes me so proud and so comfortable to kind of go to battle that I'll take my chief designer over your chief designer. I'll take my head of air. I'll take my chief commercial officer. I'll take my CFO over your CFO. And that's what I'm most proud of, and that I've been able to get an energy and a culture and a teamwork and a pace where all these unbelievable people are just like an unbeatable team. And that's what I get a lot of energy from. I got so much confidence in my team that it's like, game on, let's go. And it's kind of almost easy because it's like I don't have to do the hard work. They're the ones doing all the hard work. I just got the good people on the field. I think it's probably no different than a coach on the football sidelines, right? He's not throwing the ball, he's not catching the ball, but he's like,
Yeah.
it's his work, it's his
still in there.
masterpiece, but like they're the ones actually doing the work.
And it's cool. You almost lit up talking about your team more than yourself. When is it most fulfilled for you in this? Is it at the end of the race when the checker flag
When
goes
it's
up,
all
or is
over,
it the
'cause
process?
It's damn stressful up until then, I can tell you that. And seeing the smile on everyone's face, I think for me personally, it's watching my family get excited by the racing. They're lighting up my phone during the race, and they're kind of the biggest fans. And I like kind of the atmosphere of being on the pit wall, talking to the team, and seeing our bosses, our shareholders, and the fans. I get a real charge out of kind of seeing other people happy.
To this point, what's the season been like? Like, what's a highlight of the races?
We've had a few, having won 14 races. One of them would be winning Bahrain, because that's where my big boss is from, and we've never won that race, even in the heyday when we were winning a bunch of races. So to be able to get him that trophy, that was cool. Winning Monaco, I mean, that is the pinnacle of motorsports. I want us to win the Triple Crown, which we've won before, Indy 500, Monaco, and Le Mans. We've finished second at Indy now 2-3 times. We're close. We're going back to Le Mans. So winning Monaco is like, that's the dream. Winning the British Grand Prix, Oscar was dominating, Lando close behind. Oscar unfortunately got a penalty, but Lando, to any driver win their home Grand Prix is cool. So those would be three of the highlights this year, because those were all kind of bucket list. And then I want to win Vegas, being American. Miami's cool. We won that the last 2 years. We've won Austin, but that was with Lewis before my time at McLaren. So I feel like we got to repeat that. I don't feel like I've won Austin yet. And then Vegas, this place is cool. And I really want us to finish first and second in the Drivers' Championship. That's what we're focused on. But what we're focused on is just like the next session. The results will be what the results are. I think if you kind of try and race with, I want to win the Super Bowl, of course you want to win the Super
Every
Bowl,
time.
but actually you just want to win the next play. And if you win the next play and the next play and the next play, the Super Bowl will be the outcome. But if you kind of dream too early, I want to win the Super Bowl, no, you got to focus now. So I want us to finish first, second in the championship, but I know the way to get there is like have a great Vegas. So that's all I'm focused on. Let's have a great Vegas.
But your book, 7/10 of a second, it really speaks to the differences between success and failure, like the small differences. And in your personal life, like, can you kind of share with us or identify one of those small turning points that have helped you, get to this
Yeah, I think
success?
it's been a lot of small turning points, which have been a lot of kind of small failures and successes. I think you learn as much from success as failures. But Niki Lauda, 3-time world champion, I always liked. He gave this speech, and I learned more from losing than I did winning, and that always kind of stuck with me. I think something I've always had is mentors, and I've always liked to be around successful people from all walks of life. I think you always can learn. So that's something I think I've kind of taken with me kind of the whole way. And I still have a great advisory team to this day, because there's always someone smarter than you, more experienced than you. And so I wanted to kind of, how can I learn by other people's mistakes and maybe make fewer by learning from them? Trust, loyalty, and it's a small world. So I've never been, what can you do for me today? I've always taken the long range view. If you've been loyal to me, I'm going to be loyal to you forever, and have a real friendship. And that, I think, has served me well, because things have come full circle, and just bust your ass every day.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, I put out feelers sometimes, you know, like when we know we're going to get a guest, you kind of just say the name around people who know the sport or know the form of entertainment, and you judge their like reaction. And like, you're famous. And I think part of that's happened in the US is Drive to Survive.
It's been amazing.
Right? And you've mentioned how, we won't say names in particular, some people allow that to go to their head, and their behaviors change. Well, once your behavior changes and that fame comes in, sometimes the work slips. With the increasing popularity of McLaren, increasing popularity of F1 here, you being American, how have you maintained that humility that you need to go to work every day and sacrifice to be great?
I love our sport. I come back to, 1981 Long Beach Grand Prix, and we've all met over the years athletes that you're like, man, that guy's the coolest guy in the world. And then others where you're on like, I'm so disappointed. Yeah. That sticks with you. And so I feel a responsibility, an obligation, but an obligation that I like, to carry and represent the McLaren brand and Formula One to every fan. And they get excited. I remember when I met ball players, I can't control where I bumped into them, and I was like, that's my one chance. And so I'm very appreciative of our fan base, their excitement, so I don't want to disappoint anyone. I don't want to kind of leave a bad taste in anyone's mouth. I kind of consider myself to be the #1 fan of motor racing, so I enjoy that. And also, make no mistake about it, I got a big ego, but I think you have to have a big ego in business and sport, but I use mine to want to protect myself from failure. Like like my ego's a good, like arrogance, I think is a terrible quality. I just don't, I think it's disrespectful. I don't see, but like ego, we got it, like, and for me, like my ego, I don't want to fail. Yeah. So to me, it's a motivator. It's healthy. It's like, my ego doesn't want me to be laughed at. Yeah. And so therefore, but so arrogance is something that I think is a terrible, I've never met someone who's arrogant, and I'm like, yeah, it's
a great trait to have.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think there's a huge difference between ego and arrogance. But for me, ego kind of almost protects me from wanting to fail, because my ego will be like, who wants to be kind of labeled a failure? Yeah,
who wants to be that guy?
Quickly, Zach, talking about that ego, was there any pushback when you decided to go business side? Because there had to be some executives that say, oh, this driver wants to take our job?
No, that was the worst part for my ego, is when I was racing. Everyone was telling me at the end, stop racing, you're gonna have a better career. And like, talk about bruising your ego, right? You wanna be, I think of where we started, I wanted to be on the top podium in Lando. Shoot, I won't fit in it now. I used to be able to fit in it. And so kind of having people tell you you're not going to be good enough in racing, like, that took some time to kind of accept that, right? Because like, to this day, I now recognize it, but even deep down inside, it's like, well, maybe I could have. I just didn't get the chance. But you gotta be real with yourself too, right? That kind of comes back to, I dreamt about being a Formula One world champion. I gave it all I got. That wasn't good enough. But it takes some maturity to kind of be able to say that now comfortably. But when you're still racing, that's like not what you hear. But I never had, when I came to McLaren, because I'd been in racing my whole life, I kind of had street credibility, if you'd like, on the factory floor, like, our thing. And I don't know what it's like in football, kind of what that code is in the locker room. But our locker room code is like, is he a racer? Versus is he a corporate guy with a suit and tie on? And so I've never been the suit and tie guy, but I think maybe some people thought, well, he's more of a marketeer business. But what does he know about the technical side of the sport? And the reality is, to be a good manager, I don't think you need to know everything about everything. You need to know who to hire and who the experts are, right? It's like manager he might be telling the quarterback, do this. He can't do it.
Yeah.
So I know I can't do what my team does, but I can kind of call the play. I can tell when someone's good at what they do or when someone's not good at what they do. Doesn't mean I can do it better.
Yeah. When you took this over from Rob Dennis in what was it, 2018?
2000, yeah.
Right. It wasn't. People weren't clamoring for the job of CEO of McLaren. If you had to think of the one trait, characteristic, or priority that you set that kind of started McLaren on this path of greatness, what would it be?
I think it was creating a fun, likable environment. If I look at McLaren over the years, which, you know, has been an unbelievable team, so I don't think it was, you know, clearly it wasn't the wrong way. No. They've won a lot of championships. But today, you know, we became, I'm not a big Star Wars guy, but I use this analogy all the time. We have Darth Vader. Darth Vader's cool. A lot of Darth Vader fans out there, but, you know, not approachable, kind of dark, exclusive, and that was okay because there's Darth Vader, but I wanted us to become Luke Skywalker. So I went back to our papaya colors, bring back some positive energy and be inclusive and warm and welcoming, because that's just kind of how I am. Again, it kind of comes back. I don't think there's a right or a wrong way. Look at the results of McLaren. Pretty awesome. But that's just not who I am. So I wanted to create some warmth, some energy, some teamwork, and, you know, which is also kind of today's world, right? Fans now, because of how these sports are accessible and through digital, like I want to bring people in. And so we went from kind of an awareness talk to our fans to actually, we want you to be part of our team. And when we went back to these papaya colors, which we hadn't been since the 70s, I remember one of the people at the factory who was kind of, you know, a bit old school, was like, "You're only done that because that's what the fans want." I was like, that's exactly kind of why we're doing it, because that's what the fans want. I mean, can you imagine like Jack Daniels, or they only made it taste like that because that's what they think tastes better? And it was like, yeah, but that's like, isn't that kind of who our customer is? Our customer's the race fan. I don't understand, some people in our sport go, we're too much entertainment. I was like, whoa, hold on. If you buy a ticket to a fireworks show, a football game, a motor race, a movie, that's called entertainment. So I think, yeah, we're in the entertainment business. And so, of course, we're sport, but sport is entertainment. So I've just wanted to be very open and transparent with our fans and kind of do it that way. And I think everyone's enjoying it.
And Zach, you have a lot on your plate, because when we went to Austin, they took us in the back and they showed us the six people that are worried about each little screw and all that. And then during races, there's the pit crew, then there's the people in the garage, and there's the people back in London looking at the numbers, and it's just thousands of people working on these cars, and you are the top of that. Race over. What do you do for fun? Because you seem like you don't have enough damn time to do anything.
Have a Jack Daniels?
You just won the championship. You don't have to worry about racing for a second. What is that day, that perfect day?
I love sport. I love playing sport, whether it's getting out and playing golf or doing a little fantasy baseball. I play some ice hockey. I was never big and strong enough to do football. I was always the wimpy guy who played flag football and like bent my thumb trying to get the flag, or in basketball, bending back my fingers. So I like sport and kind of being active, but I'm addicted to motor racing. So you'll usually find me, if I'm, you know, the F1 race is over, I'm going and watching our IndyCar team, or I'm driving some historic cars. So I'm definitely a racing junkie. And I like, you know, one of the really cool things about this job, I've been able to meet some awesome people from different walks of life. And that's cool, being able to meet some awesome people and understand their sport and their business. And one of the things, you know, with all this pressure on right now, that's been cool is hanging out with other athletes who are enjoying watching the pressure we're under, because what I've tried to do is like, you want the ball, don't you? When the pressure is on, you don't want to run from it. It's like, give me the ball. And so kind of having these, you know, all these MVP and Hall of Famers that have been hanging about, listening to how much they actually lean in when the pressure's on, you know, give me the ball, give me the bat, whatever the sport it may be, is cool, because I'm taking energy from that and embracing the pressure that we're under and going, you know what? When we all dreamt about winning the Super Bowl or pick a sport, it wasn't the dream, I don't think, was, oh, we won the Super Bowl 48-0. It was like, no, you wanted to be that guy that won on the last play.
Yeah.
Right? That was the hitting the home run in the 9th inning with the bases loaded. And so that's kind of what this is coming down to. So let's enjoy the pressure of 0.7 of a second. You know, that came down to one pit stop. You know, that's where the 0.7 came from. And to what you were saying was, you got 24 races and we're spending hundreds of millions of dollars, came down to the smallest margin. So you got to have that mindset that like 0.7 counts. If you would have said at the beginning of the year, do you think the season's going to come down to 0.7 of a second? We'd be like, what are you talking about? But it did. So you got to kind of, like, every play's got to, like, it's that last 0.7 of a second. If you can get everyone with that level of energy and intensity, because the competition's so good, right, in all these major league sports. And that's what I appreciate when I'm able to get on the field with someone who's the best. Like, it's just a whole different game. Like, yeah, it's like I can hit a golf ball, and then you watch Justin Rose hit a golf ball. It's like, nah, I can't hit a golf ball. And so I appreciate watching other sports at that highest level because, you know, they're not here. It's like here. And that's what we're doing in Formula One. So we got to take that energy and rise to the occasion.
Are you a Dodgers fan?
I'm a St. Louis Cardinals fan.
You're a St. Louis Cardinals fan.
Yeah, I was always kind of comes back to me being a punk as a kid. I was the guy that went to the hometown game and wanted to cheer for the other team just to piss everybody else off. I was just a punk.
Right.
So the LA Kings are the only team that's kind of my hometown favorite. Right. Otherwise, I was a St. Louis Cardinals. I'm not from St. Louis, but I was kind of liked being the guy who was kind of controversial with everyone else in the stadium.
Yeah, because I was about to say, I mean, that's where you're from, right? That's where you were born. And their team, it's the best team money can buy, for sure. But they have someone in Shohei Ohtani who is unlike anything we've ever seen.
Yeah.
Right? We've never seen someone so good, so dialed in, so talented in the phases of baseball that he is. And for you, I look at Shohei Ohtani and, like, I would never tell a kid to dream like that, right? You get kicked out of high school and you end up becoming a man that starts just marketing international, which, by the way, how did you come up with that name?
Like over a beer in England. I didn't want to put my name on it because I thought everyone would be like, well, who the hell is this guy? And I didn't want to use racing because everyone would know why I was calling. So I kind of wanted it to be a name where it was like, what does this guy want? It's like, hey, if I can get you on the phone, let me explain to you what I want. So I'm not sure it was the most genius idea in the world, but that's how I came up with it.
Now, I thought it was amazing. But my question is, at that moment when that high schooler, right, realizes, oh, wait, I'm a dropout. What were your dreams then? Because that's the bottom of the bottom for a very young man, and you don't know what tomorrow will bring. What were you dreaming at that point?
Yeah, I think, you know, I didn't fail in school because I tried and failed. I just didn't go. And it's because I wasn't interested. Like the topics weren't, you know, I'm a kind of an all-in guy. I've had to learn how to mature and go, actually, like, you can't just walk away from things you're not interested in. But at that time, you're younger and you're immature, and I needed to kind of find my passion, and it was baseball when I was younger, and then it, you know, turned to motor racing, and school just wasn't like sitting down and doing math, science, history. It just didn't capture my attention. I was the class clown. I was more interested in kind of hanging out and having fun. And I think at that point, I just wanted to do something that fulfilled me. And it was baseball, and then we went from baseball to motor racing. So I think it was more about trying to find something that would capture my attention as opposed to sitting in school. And, you know, the funny thing is now I love history. You know, I'm fortunate to travel around the world. And so I had no interest in being 10 years old, learning about the Colosseum, but going and visiting the Colosseum now in Italy, man, that's cool. And I want to know all about it. So I was maybe mature in my desires to want to be further ahead, but very immature in that, you know, I couldn't kind of sit still. But it's all worked out.
But it served you well.
Worked out well.
Yeah.
It's all worked out well.
Zach, I can only imagine the pep talks you give those guys, man. It reminds me of Jack Daniels' mantra, every day we make it.
Yeah.
We make it the best we can.
Absolutely.
I would love to play for you if you were a football coach. So I say that
All
to
I know about football is they're going that way and they're going that way. And I know I can't do it. But I got some good buddies that are football. Strahan's a great guy. He actually sits on our advisory board. And you watch a football game from the side, and it's like, I don't want to get run over. You guys hit hard.
You guys drive hard.
Yeah, I'm not getting in the car. So.
I know, right? It takes some guts, too. But I wanted to ask you what we ask all of our guests, biggest pivot in life. That's that one moment you can look back on and say, because this happened to me or for me, I am who I am today.
Probably had to be selling my company, JMI, because that was my baby. And I kind of owned it. And that's probably like when your kids grow up and go to college. It was like this whole thing that I've been doing for 20 years. I've sold it. Kind of now what? You almost feel alone. But it taught me how to become a better manager, because when you kind of start your own company, you got 10 people, 20 people, 30 people, you kind of do it all. I was my own receptionist, mailroom, CEO, head of sales, all at the same time. Then when you lead an organization of 1,400 people, you got to become a professional manager. And that was, I think, the pivot of, I can't do this by myself. What I need is the greatest team, which means I got to become a great manager. And I think selling my company was kind of detaching the umbilical cord to like, now this stuff isn't mine. I'm the custodian for this great historic racing team that is going to be around a lot longer than I'm going to be. So how do I become a great manager of someone else's business, if you like? But I feel a huge sense of ownership. But I think that was the big pivot for me.
And Zach, talking about F1, just internationally, it's been going on for decades, and catching up with it, I'm watching reel-to-reels of guys racing back in the day. I don't think that the protection was where it was supposed to be, but how is the United States doing? How is Miami, Austin? Are we somewhat catching up?
We've caught up, but I'm not sure what we've caught up yet, other than where we should be. But if you look at like the NFL, the NBA, we got so much room to grow. It's great how popular Formula One is in America. It's like a major sport now. I knew, talking about Netflix, I knew when kind of the sport had made it. It's a funny moment. I'm staying in New York, and I pull up to the hotel, and there's these like 2 touring buses and all these fans. And it's like, okay, there's a sports team or rock band inside. I go inside, I get changed, come down in the elevator with 2 guys that are, 7'4", so it's clearly a basketball team. And I kind of goof around. I'm like, hey, you guys here for the tennis? And they laugh at me and probably thinking, should we just kick this guy's ass now? But they were super nice,
right.
And I have no idea who they are, but I can figure out the sport. We get out of the elevator, and there's Lakers stuff everywhere. So I'm like, why? It's the Lakers.
You got it now.
And they're super nice with all these fans, but they're walking to the bus, and they won't sign for the fans. They're very gracious, but it's like, we can't stop because we got to get to the bus. If we stop here, we're never going to get to the bus. And we're walking out, and we come out the doors, and I've just made this kind of silly comment to them, and these like 4 fans pop out of this line, like, can we get your autograph? And both guys turn, and they're like, sorry, no, not you, Mr. Brown. We love Formula One. And these guys looked at me like, who the hell is this guy? And I knew at that point, like, New York City is the last place you would expect Formula One to be. I'm walking out with the Lakers, and here's some really Formula One fans. And it was like, that's cool. That's where the sport should be. And that's why I like engaging with all the fans. Is more fans, the better. Netflix has been a big contributor to that. Here, Vegas, Miami, Austin, and it's cool to see how popular Formula One is in America.
Yeah, you've shown your leadership in different spaces, throughout your tenure here, but there's 2 moments with Oscar that it truly showed. People were looking for him on the podium when you guys won the Constructors Championship. You had that communication with him. Then there was another time he communicated with you, like, I just didn't hear you, right? And I love that because it signifies team. As we get to the close of this year, though, you have 2 racers that are in the hunt, right? And as a team, that's such a huge accomplishment. How do you make sure everyone's locked in and stays focused to the finish line?
Yeah, I think the relationship with the drivers and the team is awesome. And there's so many people who are trying to create drama that it was so good because I didn't know Oscar unplugged the radio when I was talking to him. And then I didn't see all the kind of media noise around it. And he came to me and was like, hey, just to let you know. I was like, oh, that's cool. I didn't know what you're talking about. I didn't know you disconnected. So we're such a tight team that is, Andrea, our team principal, kind of calls it poison biscuits. Everyone's trying to throw politics into the team to disrupt us, and it just doesn't work. And I'm so proud of, everyone's kind of innocent until proven guilty, as opposed to guilty until proven innocent within the family. And so we're going to stay true to our values, which is giving the guys equal equipment, equal opportunity. Being perfect, we've never claimed, we're try and be, but we know we're not, but the trust is high. And so we're going to just keep doing exactly what we've done. And hopefully this will end up with a 1-2 in the championship and proving those wrong that were so desperate to see a big fight break out, because that's what historically has happened. But, 3 to go. And so far, everything's great. There's never been any friction between Lando and Oscar anytime they've disagreed, which is cool with, our approach. It's been a driver talking to the team. Not once has Oscar ever said, Lando did this, or Lando said Oscar. So that relationship is very healthy, and we're going to keep it that way because we're going to stay true to our values. And I think everyone within the racing team respects that. And I hope we can finish the year where we are today and then turn around and go, you know what, we could have taken the easy way out and had a 1 and 2, but we did it our way, which we think's the right way, and it worked. And it shows if you've got good relationships, you can go, fight hard for big things in the right way.
Yeah, I think first off, thank you for your time.
My pleasure.
We understand just, what's going on, where we are in the season here in Las Vegas. And I just love listening to you because it is a lot like the Jack Daniels mantra, right? Every day we make it the best we can. And
absolutely.
That doesn't mean perfection all the time, but striving for it is what gets your team, gets yourself as close to perfection as possible. So best of luck.
Thank you very
much. And the finish of this year, man. And thank you so much for your time.
I hope we're spiking the ball come Abu Dhabi.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Thank you. Man, that was awesome, man. Appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
Likewise.
Man, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate you. Yeah.
You do sound like a coach.
you.
Oh, you started talking, I was like,
I mean, you can lead, but you lead, you delegate, like it's all part of it. You know what I mean? The personality part is like what's interesting to me, because it's like you do get that actual individual feeling of glory when you cross the line first. And you're trying to tell people, hey, I want you to cross the line first, but we are a team. Whereas if I'm watching him score a touchdown, that ain't got nothing to do with me. Like, I just only benefit from that. You know what I mean? And so that's an Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and it's like, no, you tell your teammate, hey, go again.
Right. And I love it, man. I think I've learned a lot just in being around, having conversations with you. When we sat with Lando, just the perspective of it.
Yeah, he's a good dude.
Oh, he was awesome.
Good
you know, and so I think it's been really cool. Now, I felt like Brad Pitt and Damson Idris weren't necessarily
that's all I had.
I was like, this is real.
That's how it normally is.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
And we're lucky because of the 2 guys that we have.
Got you.
Like if I had 2 other guys, I'm not sure we could pull off.
Oh, okay, really?
Well, you talk about different athletes kind of operate different ways. I'm fortunate that our 2 guys, they kind of want to do it the right way.
Being so close to home, is this the race where all the family and friends come to check out?
They come to all of them.
Okay.
Austin, because that's been the first one. That kind of feels like the biggest U.S. race because it was the first race, but they all feel
big.
cool.
Yeah, you definitely seem like way too nice to run the entire thing.
he snaps.
I thought he would come. I was like, he seems way too nice.
It's too early to go there.
Yeah, I was like, man, this guy's super nice.
Hold up, limitless. Take a stomach, cap, pinning it. I fought the here to witness it. Got my people feeling militant. Way I'm feeling, got me up. On the mission, got me up. Knowing me, I got the key. On the vision, I can trust. Limitless. Take a stomach, cap, pinning it. I fought the head to witness it. Got my people feeling militant. Way I'm finna get me up.